Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what I want to talk about is starting a new garden. Alright, one of the things I had mentioned in a previous video was the double dig method. So what does double dig mean? Well, I'm going to show you. But basically what we want to do is we want to take this area, which is grown up into weeds. Now, to be fair, I'm cheating a little bit because this is a previous garden bed. And I found that I have enough garden space. I don't really need more. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you in this area how to go about creating a double dig garden. Alright, I'm going to actually plant a tree here. And the idea being that if I get a nice apple tree growing here, get it up about 10, 15, 20 feet, then it will shade this part of the garden from the afternoon sun. Now it's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 years before that actually comes to being, but in the meantime, hopefully we'll get an apple tree started here. It's nice rich soil that's got a lot of compost into it, but and it's going to make it easier for me to dig. All right, because I don't really want to start a new garden bed, but I'm going to show you how to go about doing it. Okay, so why double dig? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I know everybody talks about don't do a no dig, don't do a no dig. There are methods where you can take cardboard, lay the cardboard down, pull the weeds out of the spots where you've cut a hole in the cardboard, and then plant plants directly into it, and then cover that with wood chips. The problem I found is, one, if you put wood chips in a wood bed, all right, the same microbes that eat the wood chips are going to start eating at your bed. All right, regardless of whether or not it's treated lumber or not. I don't think it's going to matter. I know that I had treated lumber over there, and I put wood chips down, and while this has been, man, I really need to figure out exactly how long it's been, but we bought the house, started gardening in 2016, and I believe that's when I started these beds, or no, those beds on that side, and they're still fine. So that would be 9 years. All right, so, and the wood's still holding up, still good to go. Whereas the wood that I put around the pool enclosure has rotted away to nothing in about half that time. So, but either way, so what we want to talk about is how to go about starting a garden. Now, one of the things that people will tell you is go get yourself some wood and put up an enclosure, essentially, like an 8x4 or a 12x4, as the case may be, which is perfectly fine. That's what I did over here. But the question then becomes, how do you fill it? What are you going to put in the garden to create soil? And they'll tell you, go out and buy a whole bunch of soil. Now, if you got a pickup truck, you can go buy a yard of dirt for a reasonable amount. But you're still spending money. I don't like to spend money. And then the other thing is, typically speaking, the soil that you have in your yard, down to probably 6-8 inches at least, is usually pretty good. This is decent soil. So rather than just start off with a whole bunch of garden soil, what I would do, if you're trying to do it on the cheap, is just use your existing dirt, thus the double dig method. And what we'll do with the double dig method is we'll just basically turn over the sod, turn it upside down, and put it in the ground down one level, and then put another layer of dirt across the top of that. That's going to be 3-4 inches, maybe 5 inches deep, depending on your shovelfuls. And then just progressively work our way down until we have done the whole bed. That way, the turf that you're turning over will end up becoming biomass inside of your garden bed, which will rot down because things don't like to grow upside down. And then you can also make compost and put that on top of the soil as you get the compost created, because you can always put the compost around the plants. All right. So with that being said, let me get started. The first step we're going to do is we're going to mow this. And we're going to scalp it down pretty hard. I'm going to get it mowed down to where it's basically the level of the ground. All right, be right back. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mow it down, scalp it up. Now I recommend, of course, that you go ahead and bag it up. I got my bagger on the back of my mower. Bag it up so you can use it as compost. All right, we're going to do it 2 passes. We're going to come through, mow it down, and then we're going to come back through, lower the deck down about as low as it'll go, and then scalp it down to basically nothing. All right. Now you don't have to do this. You can leave it and just flip it over But the problem is I have weeds in here. It's going to be a lot of weed seed, and I don't know that I necessarily want that in the dirt that I'm going to be making a new garden out of. But that's up to you. If you got just good grass, then you just do it with grass. All right, be right back. All right, now we're going to go ahead and lower the deck pretty far down. All right, we'll hit it again. Maybe. All right, so now what we got to do is we want to mark it in some way. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my string. And my sticks. Oops, wrong way. All right, so that's got this edge, and then what we'll do, let's see, I've got a couple other holes here. So now I've got a rough rectangle shape that is about where I want to put the garden. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is one, all right, so here in Florida, we have this frog fruit. It's a grapevine. It's perfect for covering up soil, you know, because it'll encroach in, and that's one of the problems with having a non-raised bed here, is that this stuff will work its way into the garden. It's not a huge deal because it's easy to pull. You just grab it and yank it right up. All right, particularly in garden soil. All right, but what you don't want to do is if you're going to build a raised bed, you don't want that already encroaching on your bed at the bottom. So what you're really looking to do is to make sure that you have your barrier, your dug up soil beyond the point where you want to put your bed. So if this is a 4-foot bed, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I've got a couple inches on either side that is beyond where my 4-foot bed will be. And the same thing in this direction, you want an 8-footer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you got an 8-foot or beyond so that you have that 4x8 garden. Now again, I'm not putting another garden in here. I'm just going to show you how to do this, you know, just to show you so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Because I'm one of the people I learn from doing or seeing and not just from reading or hearing. All right, so let me go grab a shovel. I'll be right back. All right, since I don't have a whole lot of grass in there, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with the turf. So basically what you're going to do is, if this was the area I was going to dig up for turf, what I would do is I would go through here, all right, and 1 shovel width. And then I would work my way back all the way across the garden bed, going down at least far enough to cut through the roots, like so. And then I would come along this edge and do the same thing, about a shovel width apart. Like so. And then what I would do is about a shovel width back, you can pull it up like so. Alright, and you're going to set that aside over here so that basically you can flip that over like so and place it back in, but not before you dig it down 2 levels. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I mean here in a second. Alright, but that's your turf that you're looking for. So now instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this soil, I'm going to dump it in this wagon. Alright, so I got my first layer of trout. Then we're going to go down another level, and we're going to dig that out. You don't want it sticking up where it can get sunlight. Alright, then we're going to come through and dig it just a little bit deeper. Now it seems like I'm breathing hard. I got some kind of a respiratory infection or something, I don't know. Not feeling the greatest right now, but I did promise to do this, so I wanted to get a video out to y'all. Like so. And then if you got extra dirt, you can always toss the extra out. Alright, we're going to do that and just continue on all the way across to the side. Alright, so got to my last row where I want to stop. Okay, now I'm doing it because I'm planting a tree, but I'm assuming you either, this would be a perfect 4x4 approximately. I'd have to measure it, or you go to your 4x8 or 4x10, 12, whatever the case may be. And those are all the sizes that lumber comes in. Alright, so if you want a 12-foot bed, buy 2 12s and an 8. Make it 4 foot across. Never go more than 4 feet across unless you're willing to do like I have, where you have a big open area where you want to go squash and other things, or you're willing to walk on the soil. Alright? But now you got that last trench dug, and that's where this saved up soil is going to go back in. Now obviously I don't have any sod in this one, so I'm just throwing the dirt back in. But if you had sod, you would want that sod to go upside down first in the hole, and then after that you follow up with the the clean dirt that came from down below the sod. All right. Now I know there's some people out there who will tell you never dig up your soil. You're killing the life. Well, okay, but that means you got to figure out a way to grow a garden in grass. All right, because I can tell you from experience, particularly if you got Bermuda grass, if you take Bermuda grass and just try and kill it with cardboard, it's not going to die. And I'll even tell you that this double dig method may not work from Bermuda grass because it spreads by roots, and so any live roots that are put in the ground are going to find their way up to the top. Eventually, you will have Bermuda grass again in that area. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because once you get your soil nice and loose like this by double digging it down, then what's going to end up happening is it's going to be very easy to pull weeds out of it. All right, particularly if you, once you get it all planted up, you mulch it in real well and keep it mulched. Man, it makes life so much easier to get the weeds out of the garden. Now, I highly recommend that you go only 4 feet across. And the reason is, whether you're sitting down or standing up, leaning over, about as far as you can reach across the garden and really be effective is about 2 feet. So you really don't want your garden beds much wider than 4 feet. And the other nice thing is that if you go 4 feet, you can buy one 8-footer, all right, cut it in half, and then you got your ends at a known distance, 4 feet across, all right, and then you put your slats on the side, whether, like I said, you buy an 8-foot board, a 10-foot board, or a 12-foot board, and you can go any length from there. All right, and you can even extend it if you want. But it is much easier if you use a single board. All right, and that comes back to, you know, the size of the lumber you use. I mean, I would highly recommend, you know, 2x10s and 2x12s even if you can afford it. All right, that just, it puts it up a little higher. And then what a lot of people are doing is they're double stacking the boards, like 2 8-footers. I'm sorry, 2 8-inch wide boards or 2 10-inch wide boards. So that gets it up, you know, 16 or 20 inches up off the ground. And then when you get old like me, you don't have to do near as much bending over. And I have my little stool around here somewhere that I sit on, and it just puts it right there, you know, 20 inches tall is going to be up about here. So when I'm sitting down, you know, that's just the perfect height. Be grabbing stuff, harvesting, or pulling weeds. Well, all right, so that's the double dig method in a nutshell. I mean, it's really pretty simple. It is a lot of work. Now, for those of you who are old and decrepit like me, there's a couple things you could do. There are day labor areas that you can go and you can hire somebody to come in and do this. Maybe a couple of somebodies, depending on how much space you want to dig up and how much effort you're willing to put out. But on the flip side is how much money that you're willing to spend. Remember what I told you before in the last video, that gardening is all about trading your time for money, all right, and that you're going to be growing stuff so that you don't have to spend money, okay? It's just like going to work. That's what you do at work. You go in and you trade your time for the amount of money they're going to pay you. In the garden, you're going to trade your time and effort, all right, for the money you can save on food for your family and yourself. All right. But either way, there are a couple different things you can do. Now, a rototiller won't do this. Now, you can come through here with a rototiller if you have one. I'm sorry, that's a name brand. A rotary tiller, I should say. And dig it up with a rotary tiller. The only issue with it, you know, rotary tiller, the tines on them are about, you know, well, double. They're about this big around, tops. Okay, so you only get half of that depth. So you're maybe getting 6 inches if you really push it down. Whereas here, you know, I'm going twice the length of that, all right? It's not quite a foot. I imagine it's, what, 10 inches? 8 inches maybe? All right, so 16 inches deep you're going. Most roots want to go around a foot deep. Now, if you have, you know, soil like I do that's kind of sandy, all right, roots are going to have no issue penetrating it, all right? So it's kind of up to you what you do, all right? I will tell you, though, that you don't get the grass buried like you do with a double dig method. So the grass is still there, the roots are still there, and that grass will more than likely come back. But I mean, that's okay, because I don't care what you do. All right, so I'm going to talk about this in another video later on, and that's your garden bank. All right, yes, you have a bank in your backyard. In this soil, even this one handful probably has thousands and thousands of weed seeds in it. Matter of fact, I can see something right there. No, that's a snail shell. But you might be able to find miniature seeds if you really look hard. Like that looks like a seed right there, okay? And even if you were somehow able to, like, you can bake your soil and kill all the life in it and kill all the seeds in it. Seems like it'd be a huge pain in the butt, but you can take like a turkey baster, fill it full of dirt, throw it in the oven, bake it at 350, I don't know, probably at least an hour or so to get that interior temperature up over, 200 degrees, kill everything. At least 160. But the thing is, that's a lot of work. You can also buy soil if you want, and for the most part it's supposed to be weed free. But even then, you're going to have birds flying over, birds pooping in your yard. What do birds eat? They eat weed seeds, amongst other seeds. And so you're going to end up with weeds in your yard. All right, there's seeds that float on the air. There's seeds that get stuck on your pants and fall off. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to do some weeding in your garden, all right? The only other option, you can lay down some weed barrier plastic. Man, that's just a lot of plastic to be using, and it's not free. It costs a lot of money. So I would recommend this over just about any other method. And then mulch it. Just mulch it real heavily. Once you get the plants to grow up to a certain height where you can mulch around them, just mulch it. Put a good heavy layer of grass clippings or whatever else. And yes, there's weed seeds and grass clippings as well, especially mine, because I don't kill off the weeds. But that's okay. When you mulch soil, it makes it much, much softer. It keeps that moisture in better, keeps that life alive better, and it makes it a lot easier to pull weeds, okay, because it softens that soil up underneath it. All right, but anyway, so to finish this out, I would put a barrier around it, probably a 8 by 10, I'm sorry, a 2 by 10 by 8, maybe a 2 by 10, 2 by 10 by 12, in other words 12 foot of length, because that's what I got over here. And then you just basically nail it together into a rectangle and lay it down. I mean, it's really as simple as that. Now you can build some bracing in, and you can put a little edge along the side that you can sit on and all that, but that's up to you. What do you want to do? But that's how you build a basic garden bed. And then what you're going to do next is you're going to start working on your compost. We're going to work on that next time in the next video, because I think beyond preparing the actual soil itself, you're going to need some compost. Now, usually the freshly dug soil like this will be sufficient for your first year's crop. Usually. A lot depends on your soil, how sandy it is, and how bad the soil is. But for the most part, you'll be able to grow your first year's crop in the existing soil you have. Alright, but that's the double dig method. Alright, an easy, simple way to go about digging up a garden bed and having enough soil to plant your first year's crops in. Alright, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe, and let me know what you think. Most importantly, grow something. Get something growing in your backyard. In these unsure times, you'll definitely thank yourself. Alright, y'all come back soon.